Okay, data privacy and impact, privacy impact assessment. Let's talk about this real quick. Um, so this is getting to, the general overview of data privacy, the introduction to privacy. There's some key principles around it. Let's get into it. So for starters, 1970, we had the Fair Credit Report Act and Fair Credit Report also has element of to protect our privacy of our personal data in credit reports in general. 95, we had Directive 9546 EC, which was adopted in EU. 2000, we had Safe Harbor Law, right? These were much more older before we transitioned into 2018, which was the GDPR. But this is just some historic context, right? Safe Harbor was the big one out there you know, um, when we transferred data between US and Europe, it was a mandatory thing then at that point in time. Privacy is not an option and it shouldn't be. The price we accept for just getting on the internet. So it's not an option, right? Because people take it serious. There are a lot of law firms out there. That is their focus. There are a lot of lawyers, that's their focus, they're privacy lawyers, you know, and that's their bread and butter. They figure out the newer changes in laws at the federal, state, local level, geopolitical level, and that's all they focus on. So if you mess with those privacy laws, there are people that's their job to just track it. So just be mindful of that. How many of us have heard of this gentleman called Edward Snowden? Let me just open the floor. Let's see what you guys think about this guy. Where's this? So okay, let's see. How many of us have heard of Edward Snowden? The floor is open. Let me see what you guys think. Okay. Somebody said, okay, got it. So for those of us that don't know who Edward Snowden is, as well, Edward Snowden worked with the US intelligence for many years. He was with the CIA for many years. And one of the things he did was he took copies of highly classified and sensitive information as a subcontractor, and he disappeared with the document and he became a whistleblower, and he started talking about every one of the surveillance program we had in the US. And not just the US, I believe, even our Canadian partners, because there's a lot of joint programs done, right? So he really exposed the means of technical operation. It was bad. It was bad. I mean, it's it can't get worse than that. And unfortunately, guess where he traveled to? Your guess is as good as mine. He went to Russia, right? So, and you think the Russians would just say, "Oh, don't worry, would no." So all those files, data, it's a big national security compromise, right? It was a big deal for us in the States. So that's a big one. So that's Facebook, um, American social media network. They've had their fair share of privacy violation. It's a big one for them. I think even this year they had a violation that led to billions of dollars of pounds or euros that they had to cough out. All right, let's talk about some devices out there that are common in terms of privacy violations. One, when you use your phone, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many privacy settings now that you have to be very cautious of, like your location, your browsing history, your public data. Every one of these things are so critical today. Your webcam. So for those of us using webcam, it's a good idea practice. Always have, if you don't have there are protectors to your webcam, or you can use tapes. Just put it in front of your webcam. For your kids' webcam, also, put some tapes in front of it because they could be easily violated. So, and there are so many softwares now that can track and take over webcams. It's a big problem right now. Microphone, your recordings can be done without your consent. It's a big deal. So even our microphone, so on your laptop, desktop, somebody can take your microphone and start recording your conversation without your knowledge. Yes. And let me tell you one funny, crazy thing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I didn't tell you to do it, okay? So full disclosure, a lot of these softwares, people buy them in the dark web, $15, $50. So it's not like, you're going to, people are finding some sophisticated way now. They buy them cheap because the production is pretty easy now. And the malicious actors, they don't care. They will just sell anything, any price, and that's it. So it's crazy. So we have to just do our part to do our due diligence. Your fitness tracker, like your Fitbit, your Jawbone, your Gemini, your Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, all of those devices, every one of those also, your privacy could be violated really because I can track all your information, your health record, your walking, your steps, the location you walk to, and that can be used to determine and even do malicious things to people physically. So it's a big deal, right? Your smart devices at home, that is another crazy one. So your fridge, your TVs, your ring, every one of those devices you connected to the network can potentially be compromised. And you would never know for many, many months, you know? So something to just to be mindful about. And your information, your privacy data, your um, sensitive information can be collected without your knowledge right now. I was in a conference, like I mentioned this week, and one of the gentlemen I met, he's also going to be coming to our program. He was his organization, they focus on ethical hacking, and he was telling me about some things that they do that I was just cringing at. Seriously, yes, it's crazy what people can do right now, and to make it worse, the tools to do it are readily available with minimal expense. These guys can do so much damage, which is crazy, really. Credit card, you know, believe it or not, that's why PCI is a big one, DSS, because your credit card information reveals a lot about you. I'm sure most of us that watch all these movies, you'll notice when a crime scene happens, the first things people in the intelligence community do is they check if they can figure out where the credit card was activated. They can use geolocation to figure out the terminal the person went to last. They can figure out if they went to an ATM machine. These are devices that you can use to track a lot of things. So it means your sensitive information are still captured when you use your credit card information. So these are popular devices out there. We should be mindful and know that these are some of the biggest sources in which our information can be compromised big time. All right. So there could be more, but these are the popular ones out there. Like we said earlier on, regulation wise, GDPR, CCPA, 2 years apart. But these are big ones we have to make sure we always comply to also. Big companies that are, always thinking of privacy because if not, it's trouble. Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, these are big players in the industry that it's a big deal for them. Rightfully so, because they capture tons of data from we users, right? And in general, generally speaking, another thing is when we do a privacy impact assessment, a simple way is, we scope what exactly we are trying to do, which you'll see in a bit. We map it, you know, we do the analysis itself, check the controls around those specific areas, then we do documentation and provide appropriate recommendation also. On the accountability side of things, if there's a need to improve your PIA program, then you have to define who's responsible for it. Now, let's keep it simple. So, for example, if you were part of our internship program, we had a hospital system that deployed MRI machine and CT scan machine. This machine captures sensitive information, right? Because of that, we need to make sure they have risk assessment. In reality, we also have to do one more thing, which is what we'll do today: privacy impact assessment. Meaning, how does what they do potentially violate our privacy? Because these devices are capturing data. So we want to check and do a PIA, which is a big deal because at the end of the day, whatever tool you're bringing on board within my organization, I need to know, okay, how does it impact privacy? Your legal team, your general counsel, they need to have that information or else it's going to be a problem. So at least we do our due diligence that we did a PIA, okay? So that's the gist about it. Some general principle, fairness, we talked about it before, transparency, data minimization. The minimization is always a big deal. Just collect what is needed. If it's not needed, don't collect it. As simple as that. All right, let's see some other one. Okay, these are some very good examples of some key concepts in privacy. DPIA, data protection impact assessment. It's a framework used out there. Then the actual PIA, which we'll do today. And there's another privacy by design. This typically would be targeted to specific technologies or partners or practices. So you've designed a framework to target a technology. So most times it means they're just putting together unique questionnaires that address the privacy concern for that device specifically. I can think of some in my head now that I can say maybe might warrant a unique um, design. So let's say your AI model. If I'm bringing an AI model, now I'm thinking of PHI, PII. So I have to think about, okay, we have to do privacy by design to see what are the privacy implications of bringing this AI model into our environment. Okay. And these are just saying some of those methods in terms of the scorecard. PIA is lower, DPIA is much higher. The by design is much more higher in general. All right, so that's the high level of it.